Hello. So I just finished watching Bridgerton season 3 part 1, the first 4 episodes. And there was a couple of things I was hoping for that didn't quite happen. So I read the books and I was actually reading book 3, which is about Colin's older brother Benedict, and was going to reread Colin's story, but I didn't want to wait to watch the show. So I watched the first 4 episodes, and I just kept thinking before the show came back that I didn't see it, that they couldn't have interweaved a bit of both stories together. Like, I think if you've read the books and stop and don't continue to listen to this if you haven't, but if you've read the books, because this is kind of not a spoiler of the show, but a spoiler of the books. In book 3, it's about Benedict, and he meets this girl Sophie, and first meets her at a masquerade ball, and he thinks she's somebody like of the ton, and turns out she's actually a servant girl. It's kind of got the feeling of Cinderella, the story. And then, of course, Colin's story, book 4, is about him and Penelope because they have a long-standing friendship, and it's one of those things where, our friend's going to become more than friends and all that. And I do remember in the book, the fact that she is Whistledown comes out. Now, in the show, they've switched things and made Penelope and Colin's story the next story, which I was fine for in some ways, but in some ways was like, oh, missing the whole Benedict. And the thing I feel about that is because they put so much energy into Anthony's character, and I love Anthony's character. Love the man who plays Anthony. That even though season 2 was different from the book, I really got into it. The actors' chemistry and the slow burn till they finally came together was just amazing. But I think a problem for me is like trying to get to know and get interested in Colin and Benedict as the other brothers and what makes them tick. I mean, we had a little bit of Benedict with the whole art stuff and him wanting to become an artist. But I have to be honest with you, he kind of came off either particularly bland in the show or seeming like they were going to go in an interesting direction and make him perhaps be gay. Or bi-curious, I'm not sure. But watching him in season 3, Benedict, was the third season was just a lot of like, and we're at another ball, and we're at another ball, or we're at the Benedict drawing room and we're just kind of chilling and not doing much. And I just kind of found that boring. I kind of felt like they could have tightened it up and had more of the storyline of him running into Sophie with the whole Colin and Penelope thing still unwinding. I think it could have been possible to do both. And I mean, I guess you still needed to have Penelope's sisters come around with their characters and stuff, and this whole created storyline of needing to become pregnant to have an heir to the title. But I was like, whatever. The character, I forget his name, but the character they had to be a possible love interest for Penelope, I liked. But, I mean, it was just like so confusing because there's a lot of in the show where she's like pretty much, this is going to be a bit of a spoiler for the third season. If you haven't watched it, you can stop now. But in the third season, the first 4 episodes, they have things of Penelope like asking Colin to help her find a husband, which I don't think was in the stories. Or she's so like, oh, please kiss me, because I've never been kissed. And I was literally in tears. I was like, oh, why can't we just have the unfolding of him like, him seeing her change and what she's wearing, but still like love her as a friend, but just realize he's like having feelings and he just can't take it anymore. They could have just had her like get closer and closer to the other guy and just like him explode, but he's not like the Duke in the first show, and he's not like Anthony in the second season. So yeah, I'm not, I mean, Colin pretty much likes to travel and says stuff, but his like emotional levels, I mean, they come out a bit near the end of the third and fourth episode, but I just don't know. For me, I felt like he came back and he was all sculpted and stuff, and I was like, I kind of thought he looked a little skinny, um, and it was like a little bit like, ooh, check him out, and I'm like, I get kind of turned off by that, especially if it's not like in the character to begin with. Like he wasn't really a look at me, I'm a rake kind of guy. I never, I don't know. I felt like they were trying to make him into a rake, and I don't think he really was one before. I mean, I like the whole angle of him becoming a writer with his journaling and stuff, and the fact that Penelope always liked to read his letters and stuff. And I felt like they could have built that up more with the letters and like their hidden dreams that they shared with each other that they didn't talk about in public with other people. And then I thought the like fallout with Eloise was sad. Um, but then with Benedict, they bring out this other character lady who, I'm sorry, I don't have all the names of the characters memorized in my head, but Lady Arnold, I guess, was her name, and she seemed cool and all, but again, not sure if she's gonna be some sidetrack person or if she's gonna be the character he ends up with and they just changed her or if there's someone else. But I feel like again the show could have tightened up some storylines. I feel like you could have had the beginnings of Benedict's story intertwined with Colin's story to make it tighter, and I feel like that just was a bit repetitive, just a bit repetitive. I think recasting Francesca, uh, the girl seems like a good actress and she's attractive, but it was just a lot like Daphne. Um, it would have been nice to keep Ruby. I can't remember if her last name was Sparks, but the girl's name was Ruby, the original actress who played Francesca, and I don't know. I just think it could have been interesting, but they picked a different girl. Um, I have somebody playing her love interest who sounds more British than Irish or Scottish, and I think the original character was supposed to be like either Scottish or Irish in the books. And then I think they're creating a love story possibly between um, the Dowager Viscountess and Lady Danbury's brother, which should be interesting. And they've created some new storylines with the boxer character becoming somebody whose child has a title and stuff. So, I mean, some of it's kind of interesting. But I gotta tell you, my favorite thing is like when Kate and Anthony were in the beginning and they were all feisty and loving each other and kissing and dancing and having an incredible um, sex scene and love scene and stuff. And then they were gone and it was like, oh, anyway. Um, I could see they're trying to make the second half of this about Colin finding out that Penelope is Lady Whistledown, and there's still the outs with Eloise and stuff. Um, but I just feel like the culmination coming to the like, oh, I love you, I want to be with you was just there was just a lot of cowardice. Like it took Colin such a long time to just figure out his feelings and admit stuff and go after her. I was surprised that he didn't slip up and kiss her without her needing to ask him. You know, they were in close quarters before. I'm surprised. Why wouldn't they just accidentally have a kiss and then like have more of a push and pull and tug of war and until they couldn't take it anymore, instead of her like, oh, kiss me, I want to be kissed, or like him barely seeing her with some other guy, and when they could have like made that more of a possibility, make it seem like, oh, she might actually leave, she might actually go out with someone else and get married to this person, and you really have to step up. So I don't know, I'm willing to give it a second viewing before part two comes out, and we'll see. Let me know what you think of it. All right, bye.